Dear students, let us begin the third part of the lesson, in which you will learn about the defining and determining the t statistics by explaining mean, variance and standard error. The first we can define mean. The mean, often denoted as a mu, represents the average value of the data set. It is calculated by summing all the values in the data set and divided by the total number of observations. The mean is a measure of the central tendency and provides an estimate of the typical value in the data set. The next measure is variance. The variance, denoted as a sigma square, measures the spread or variability of the data points around the mean. It quantifies the average squared difference between each data point and the mean. The variance is calculated by dividing the sum of the squared differences between each data point and the mean by the total number of observations. Standard error. The standard error is an estimate of the standard deviation of the sampling distribution of a statistic. It measures the precision or uncertainty associated with the sample estimate of a population parameter. For the t statistic, the standard error is the standard deviation of the sampling distribution of the sample mean. Standard deviation, whether it is denoted by S or sigma. The standard deviation is the square root of the variance, and it is often used as a more interpretable measures of variability. It has the same units as the data points, unlike the squared units of variance. The standard deviation provides a measure of how much the data points typically deviate from the mean, determining the t statistic. The t statistic is a measure of how much the sample means differ from the null hypothesis value, assuming the null hypothesis is true. It is calculated by taking the difference between the sample means and dividing it by the standard error. The t statistic tells us the number of standard errors the sample mean is away from the null hypothesis value. Determination of the t statistic involves the following steps. The first step, calculate the sample mean. Compute the mean, it is denoted as x bar of your sample by summing all the values in the sample and dividing by the sample size n. Calculate the sample variance. Determine the variance sigma square of your sample by summing the squared differences between each sample value and sample mean divided by n minus 1. It is nothing but Bessel's corrections. This provides an unbiased estimate of the population variance. Third one, calculate the standard error. Compute the standard error of the sample mean by taking the square root of the sample variance divided by the square root of the sample size. The formula is standard error is equal to square root of s square by n. Calculate the t statistic. The t statistic is calculated by taking the difference between the sample mean and a hypothesized population mean, often it is denoted as a mu naught, and dividing it by the standard error. The formula is t is equal to x bar minus mu naught divided by standard error. Dear students, I hope these concepts will be helpful to you in your research. We have completed our lesson on determining a formula for t distribution. Thank you.